tell you that before I say anything else, really. So by attending the meeting, you are consenting to that. Yeah, if everybody who's not speaking can turn their cameras off, that helps people who've got limited broadband. So as I was saying, we're starting early because we're doing the Commonwealth Celebrating Communities Fund. I'm now getting feedback, so I need anyone who's not got their microphone off to switch it off, as well as anyone with their camera on to deal with that, please. Okay. So I've told you that this is being webcast. If you want to go back to it in the future, it's on the council's YouTube channel, the NDSU one rather than the committee meetings. The reference is a very long string of letters and numbers. So I would suggest that you Google it basically, or go onto YouTube and search. So our first item of business is the Celebrating Communities Fund. And this element is kind of independent of the councillors. So I'm going to hand over to Karen Cheney, who is known to most of you, to run this section of the meeting. And then we'll come back. So Laura, are you able to switch your camera off, please, until you speak? Welcome, John. I've just done the webcast and recording warning and asked everyone to switch off their cameras and their microphones unless they've indicated that they wish to speak. And I'm hoping everyone can see the little icon at the top of the screen, which is the smiley face with the hand, which is how you indicate that you want to speak. But we're on item 2 of the agenda, and I'm handing over to Karen Cheney to run this item. Over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. Hopefully you can see me. I think there is a bit of trouble with some of the cameras, so I hope you can. So as Councillor McCarthy mentioned, this part of the meeting is the participatory decision making for the Commonwealth Games Celebrating Communities Fund. In terms of the allocation for the ward, every ward has a certain allocation. For Bournbrook and Selly Park, it's 22,200. That's for both round 1 and round 2 proposals. Round 1 closed earlier on, just before the summer break, and we have one proposal for you tonight. All the proposals that have come in have already been assessed by NDSU in terms of meeting the criteria for the funding stream. So it does. So there don't need to be any questions relating to that. It already does. So it is really open to yourselves in terms of whether it's a proposal you would like to bid for. In terms of proposals, just to remind people, community groups can put in proposals at 3 different levels out of the fund, up to 1,000, between 1,001 and 5,000, and finally 5,001 to a maximum of 10,000. In terms of the process for this evening, I'm going to ask, I think we've got Laura and Charlotte here, both from Parks for Play, to present their proposal. They'll be given 5 minutes or so to present what they wish to spend the money on in terms of their proposal. Then there'll be a period of time for questions and answers from people around on the virtual call, and then it will be a vote. It will be a simple vote of either using the hand on setup for Teams, or putting your camera on and raising your hand, and it'll be a yes or no vote with the discussion. With Laura and Charlotte will have left at that stage, and then after the vote's been done, it is by a majority, 51% majority in terms of it being passed, and then NDSU will contact the proposer as to whether it's been approved or not, and at the level of funding that's been requested, because that is something else that could be changed. Before I ask Laura and Charlotte, are there any questions with the process, or is it straightforward for people? Okay, I shall take that as a yes then, that it's fairly straightforward. So I'm going to hand over to Laura and Charlotte to present their proposal. And I'll turn my camera off. So Charlotte and Laura, you can pop your cameras on. There is terrible interference from somewhere. I'm afraid, Charlotte, we can't hear you. There's terrible interference and we can't hear you. Do you want to try again? I think it's when you put your mic on. I don't know if it's just me, but we can't hear you, Charlotte. There's like a radio interference.
No, it's not just you, Karen. I can't hear either.
Is it something that Laura, rather than Charlotte? Laura, are you able to put your camera on and see if yours is any clearer? Oh, okay, in that case, I'm sorry, you're probably not going to be able to talk at this stage, Charlotte, because we just can't hear you. But if Laura can hear, can you put, because I've had a quick look, it's great. Can you put your presentation on, share your screen so people are able to see your presentation, because I know you've done it as a YouTube video.
Karen, I'm not sure whether Laura's dropped out of the meeting, actually. I can't see her on the...
I was just thinking exactly the same thing.
She seems to have disappeared off my list of people present.
Okay.
Seem to be having a few technical difficulties.
Okay, so let's improvise. Either Charlotte, if you're able to put it on your computer and show it. If not, if everybody looks in the chat box, Laura, and actually I put it in as well, the YouTube link is in the chat box, and everybody ought to be able to press that and be able to play it. It is about 5 minutes long. Oh, thank you. Is that Charlotte? Excellent. Thank you. Charlotte, we still can't hear your sound, I'm afraid. It's still got huge interference on. You need to stop the video. Right, sorry, I've just muted Charlotte. If people could try to press the link that is showing in the chat box, you all ought to individually be able to watch it. It is 5 minutes long.
Oh, here's Laura. I'm just thinking it would be better if we can get it shared and watched.
Yes, I agree.
Rather than individually.
So start again, Laura. We unfortunately Charlotte's got an awful lot of interference on her machine, so we can't hear what she's saying. Have you got the presentation that you can share, please? And if you take your mute button off, can we just make sure that we can hear you as well? And your camera. The joys of technology. Hello, John. You just need to turn your camera off. Thank you. So Charlotte, Laura, somebody chat to me in the chat box or talk to me because we're stuck here. We don't appear to be able to talk to you or watch the film, unfortunately.
No, I can't unmute Laura either. I've just tried.
Laura is on the call, Charlotte. She's just come on, but we can neither see her or hear her.
We can mute people, but we can't unmute them.
No, I can't. But I think Laura's managed to unmute herself now.
Laura, are you able to speak to us?
I can hear you. Yes, have you got the presentation you've got the presentation in the YouTube in the chat, which I sent to you and Kay? It's
We
a
have
5-minute recording.
We have, but it's whether you want to, because if we watch it individually in the chat box, it won't be collective. Is that the only way that it can be done? You're not able to share it from your computer?
I'm really sorry. It's my son's birthday, so that's why I couldn't come tonight, because I'm on my way to take him out. I'm really sorry, I couldn't cancel it. Yeah, it's only 5 minutes. I promise. It's condensed. And if Charlotte can be spoken to at least on the phone, she has got the link. She will answer any questions around finance or sponsorship or further bids.
So Charlotte's computer is not working. We can't hear Charlotte.
Oh, okay. Well, are people able to access the video okay?
As a last resort, everybody will have to watch it individually from the chat box. Karen, Hannah is making the suggestion, Hannah from the Guild is making the suggestion that if you open it, oh, Bridget is saying that it, do you want to give it a go, Karen, and see whether certainly. You can then share it? Okay, let's have a look. From the link, it's saying it's unavailable. The link that's been put on says it's unavailable. The link that I've put on, let's see.
Charlotte's just trying to join via phone. She's just put in the chat.
Okay,
Right,
it's in
so the
your
link-
email. It's in your email box and in Kay's, and came up when I tested it.
Yes, it was sent just before we went on the meeting, so I have got it. Mine is playing, and
Oh, bless you.
the link that is further up does play, but I need to just try and see if I can share my screen. Councillor McCarthy, I don't know what other agenda items you want, because if there is something else, and I'll set this up, and we'll have to come back to it rather than stop your meeting to sort it out, unless Charlotte is now on a machine that allows her to talk.
It's a little tricky because the next item was going to be you talking about the next round.
Okay. All right. Just bear with me then. Let me just see if I can do it.
Well, thank you ever so much, Karen, and I'm sorry I couldn't cancel this evening.
The link is also on Twitter. Tweet it to Karen McCarthy.
I think the link is also on Twitter in a tweet to Karen McCarthy, if that's any help.
I haven't seen it.
It has to be in a format that we're able to use for this meeting, and Twitter tweet won't do it, I'm afraid.
Oh, it's definitely on YouTube, which should be the easiest for everybody to see.
Can we assume that everybody who's in this meeting can access? Bridget, have you had another go?
So, Councillor McCarthy, if everybody goes onto the chat, it is not the link that's been put on by Laura, because that's not working. But further up, 1821, I actually put the link on, and that is working. I think rather than just to save time, if people can just spend 5 minutes watching that, and then we'll come back and try and do some question and answers, if that's okay.
Okay, so we'll come back. My clock says 1848. So we'll come back at approximately 1853. Chat is the speak bubble at the top of the screen. And then if you scroll up to 1821.
That link does
and
work.
It did come up when I clicked it.
Yes, it does work.
Let's 5 minutes to try and watch it. And if necessary, those of us who can see it will have to contribute.
Thank you.
Is this working for people?
Yep, yes, Councillor Jones. Are you sharing your screen, Councillor Jones?
Yeah, do you want me to give it a go?
It's up, well, I can see it on my screen.
Yeah, let's do you want me to give it a go and see if that works for people?
Yes, please.
Okie doke.
There isn't any sound.
I think Charlotte.
Hiya, just to let you know, sorry, if you can hear me, I've got the sound on now. I can play it if needed.
Charlotte,
yes, please.
Please.
One more go then, Charlotte, because Bridget isn't managing to get the sound on hers.
You're on mute, Charlotte.
Hiya, I've logged in on my phone. Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's fine.
Cool, right, so I'm going to flip the screen and I'll play it from the laptop so that you should be able to hear it. I've got it on max.
Thank you.
Right.
Proposal for games.
Just restart it.
This is part of the proposal for affordable.
No, we're not
I
getting
can't-
it, Charlotte.
I can't hear it.
Oh. Right, I've got one more setting to try. Let me see if this one works.
This is Parks for Play's proposal for Commonwealth Games
does.
at
Thank you,
Coronation
Bridget.
Road. Parks for Play is a unique charity created by Parents, Play and Youth Expert in 2004 to provide affordable and accessible play and youth opportunities and play services for vulnerable children and young people. Many of its attendees have been drawn from Selly Park and Bournbrook over the last 16 years to both indoor and outdoor parks-based events. Parks for Play moved to Coronation Road Play Centre prior to summer and got involved in a massive amount of renovation to make the site its permanent home, expand services for vulnerable local children and thoroughly embed itself in the local community. The Commonwealth Games at Coronation Road will offer service users and residents the opportunity to come together for a wealth of shared physical opportunities and community lunches on monthly Sundays. All ages can enjoy a whole variety of physical play which they may not have experienced before, such as giant space hoppers, low rope climbing, wall climbing, acrobatics, hula hooping, giant assault courses, and of course water play. Everyone will benefit from our on-site chef demonstrating healthy eating, campfire cooking, and the economical use and production of wonder bags. Celebrity appearances linked to the Commonwealth Games will be featured as an inspiration. Our Commonwealth Sundays will celebrate shared physical exuberance across ages and abilities and align with the ward priorities by encouraging citizens to be active, independent and support their own well-being. Opening the play centre up is an opportunity for us to offer residents access to training and volunteering opportunities, particularly with the aim of keeping the Commonwealth Sunday Games going well beyond the 2022 events. Sundays are a time that many families, particularly those with disabled children or families on low income, can struggle to access leisure opportunities. Disabled children and young people are at far greater risk of obesity due to the lack of access to physical opportunities and in general at risk of social isolation with all its negative consequences. Disabled children need friendships with non-disabled peers in their local community, which may stand them in good stead in the years ahead when transition into adulthood can be a lonely and challenging experience, as it is for many older people now. Older family members can feel far more at home playing physically with their grandchildren or other children. Bringing the generations together always enriches all participant experiences, and children are a wonderful community glue for bringing people together informally. Commonwealth Sundays will be offered free to remove all financial barriers to local families and bring a diversity of users of all ages and abilities together for shared enjoyable fitness opportunities which will benefit everyone's health and well-being and demonstrate community inclusion in practice. Parks for Play will outreach to local community groups, schools, sports organisations and local businesses to participate in and support this project. This project will also ensure that Coronation Road, which is home to services that prioritise access for the most vulnerable children and young people, is also a place that belongs to and has ownership and is shared by the wider community. Parks for Play has links with local universities to support the production of project evaluations. The impact of the Commonwealth Games at Coronation Road will be gathered through film, photography, recorded conversation, practitioner observations and reflections, and will always use individual starting points.
Thank you very much, Bridget. That's very helpful. If there are now any questions relating to what you've seen, it's your opportunity to ask Laura if she is still on the call, and Charlotte any questions relating to their proposal. People could just put their hands up, that and then I can call you in. Councillor McCarthy.
Doing my usual of asking a starter question while other people are composing theirs. Charlotte, are you able to tell us how many of the people you currently help are from Bournbrook and Selly Park ward?
Hiya. So, well, all of our families, we kind of put it within a catchment area because it gets a bit difficult when it comes to postcodes. But from Coronation Road, we've done it within. It's sort of like 3 to 5 miles from where we are on Coronation Road is the priority access for all of our families. So there's only really like a handful of people that are a little bit further from that, mainly because they've either been in that area and moved away, so we haven't sort of kicked the children out, or they haven't been able to access any services and we've been referred to them. But I'd probably say, I mean, at the moment we've got about 50 children that come on a weekly basis. So of that, maybe about 30 that are within that area. We do have we do kind of support that a very sort of local area, just because we want it to be you know, a community project and for families to meet other local families.
And have you asked any other wards for funding?
I mean, for this particular project, this was kind of built for this project, but we have other bids in other places for things that we're developing at the moment, because we've only recently taken on Coronation Road. You know, we've only been there sort of 4 months running. We were predominantly a Saturday service. We're now expanding that to eventually become a 7-day service. So we've got bids out to children in need. We get funding through short breaks for disabled children as well for our Saturday service. And I know that we have we've written bids out for the National Lottery as well, for a after school club that will be running 5 days a week for children with disabilities and additional needs and their sort of families as well. And we will be doing daytime provision. So, I mean, yeah, so there's lots of stuff going out at the moment. We're just trying to, now that we've got a building 7 days a week, we're trying to put out as many bids as possible so that we can actually make as much use of that space as we can and support as many families as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other questions? Charlotte, I may have missed it in the film myself, but actually explicitly saying how much the proposal is and what that money is specifically for?
I think Laura has the full breakdown of this, but I believe the bid was for 9k, and that predominantly would be because of these sort of families that we support with very high needs. Predominantly those that would go on staff costs. A lot of our young people need a one-to-one at all times. Some of them need 2 staff members to 1 child. So a lot of that does come down to staffing costs, but also the next big proportion of that money would be put into the actual events and the projects that we'll be doing over the summer. We have done something quite similar where we had different kind of performers and people doing workshops in our session. So we had our sessional staff which were there to support and care for the children and families, and then we'd have people brought in to do workshops. So obviously with this one being Commonwealth, we're looking at people from you know, sporting backgrounds that can come in and do some inclusive sports games and different workshops that will have obviously a bit more of a sporty experience than we have, which is more around obviously supporting and caring for the young people. So that's the kind of main breakdown, because we're obviously trying to run it all in our own space. We're saving a lot in terms of rent, so we can spend more on having more people in, and more on the activities that we run as well.
Thanks, Charlotte. Elizabeth, your question, please. You're on mute at the moment. Still on mute, Elizabeth. If you can't get yourself...
No, I've worked it out. Okay, sorry.
That's all right.
I wondered, maybe I missed it, I wondered whether the events would take place whatever the weather. I mean, the photographs show lovely sunny days. What, when it's pouring with rain sort of Sunday, what happens?
Oh yeah, we run in any weather. I mean, we always have a box full of Macs for the kids, and we have loads of umbrellas and everything like that. We've always ran in every weather, mainly because children don't care, and they're happily run around in the mud and the rain, and it almost makes it a little bit more exciting. I mean, if it was absolutely horrific, we do have, because of how our space is set up, I don't know if Laura's sent any photos, but we have a very, very large canopy outside. So there is actually some sheltered parts of outdoors. So if things are outside, and it's torrential, there's still, it's about a 30-foot wide, almost like a giant umbrella. So there's space under there. We also have a big hall, so there's space in the hall as well. So there's, I mean, majority of the time kids love running around in the rain. We have Macs on, we've got umbrellas, we always tell people the weather when they're on the way in, so they can dress appropriately, so they've got proper boots or whichever it is. So I mean, nothing's, I mean, it depends on what we're doing, but we'll always adapt, and we always run, and we always just kind of work with what we've got weather-wise. But from my experience, no matter how awful it is, the children still want to be running outside anyway. It's more the staff that are moaning about it than anyone.
That's great. Good answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Charlotte, do you just want to say when you're wanting to start the activities? Because obviously this is leading up to the Commonwealth Games next end of July and August. Have you got proposed starting dates? Because I know it's for 12 sessions, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think the idea, again, because Laura's obviously sent off everything and not given me a full brief of everything, but the idea is that we'd run on Sundays. We already do a Sunday service anyway every other week, so the idea would kind of be the other Sunday. So we're filling our calendar as much as we can. So it would be 12 Sundays over 24 weeks to kind of spread it out a little bit more, which we find, you know, it works really well like that, because with families, sometimes if you try and do loads in a really short amount of space, it doesn't have enough time to kind of snowball and word of mouth to spread and people telling their families and things like that. So by, you know, staggering it out, we can kind of drag it out as much as we can, really. And it gives, you know, families something to do almost every week. So we've always got something going on, and that we can kind of, you know, make it last really as much as we can, without it being too spread out. But yeah, the idea is to kind of drag it over as much as we can, really, so we can reach as many people as possible.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, thank you very much, Charlotte. We will ask you to leave the call now so we can actually do the voting, and an email will come through either, well, probably tomorrow now from myself, in terms of what the decision has been. But thank you very much for your time.
And thank you for sorting out all the technical issues. Sorry it was such a mess at the start, but at least we got that at the end.
Yeah,
but
that's life, isn't it? That's the world we live in at the moment.
Thanks for your time, Annie. Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. Okay, folks, so the next bit is the decision making and any discussion that you may have. As I mentioned right at the beginning, although I think some people may have come on a little later, those that are entitled to vote in the ward participatory decision making are the 2 councillors and then residents and key stakeholders from the Bournbrook and Selly Park ward. We have to do this a little bit by trust because obviously I don't know everybody. So if you are not in either of those categories, then you're not able to vote. I think we've got 10, if we discount myself and Kay, there are 10 others on the call. So I'm going to do it as a straightforward hands up for, against, or if there are any other comments that people want to make about the amount of money. The actual proposal is a little bit higher than Charlotte mentioned. It's 9,970 is the amount that they're asking for. Matthew, got a question? You're on mute, Matthew.
I was voting for it. I didn't know. That's what
you were very eager. Sorry, Matthew. No. I thought you were going to ask a question. No. Okay. So,
Karen,
yes.
The other thing you mentioned to me when I was checking with you earlier, that anyone who has a direct link to the project can't vote either.
Yes. So if you have a conflict of interest, if you're a trustee or a worker on the project, you're not able to vote on it as well. I don't know if that does apply to anybody. If it does, if you are somebody who can't vote, with either of those things that I've said, resident or key stakeholder, or you're directly involved in the project itself, could you just put the hand on, just so when I'm counting up, I can know I'm not to count that. Okay, that's nobody. So we'll do it straight away then. Those that would like to vote for this proposal, if you could just put your hands on, that'd be great. And anybody against?
So everybody who's already voted needs to take their hands off?
Yeah, need to take your hands off. Yes, please. Okay. And anybody against? Thank you. And I think has anybody abstained because they are related to the project? Thank you, John. I've got your hand. Lovely. In that case, it has been agreed. That recommendation will now go for formal sign-off, which goes to senior officers, and the project will be informed and the grant aid will go out to the organisation in due course. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience virtual stuff is great because we've been able to meet, but it does sometimes have its hiccups. So thank you, Councillor McCarthy. I'll hand back over to you.
Thanks, Karen, for your unflappable management of that item. I'm about to hand back to you. Hopefully, some of those people who've attended tonight also are thinking about putting bids in for round 2, and Karen is going to explain how that's going to work. You can do the maths. That's nearly 10,000 committed, but that leaves a decent sized pot going forward. Karen, would you like to tell us about it and how people can put their bids in?
Certainly. So even with my basic maths, it's just over £12,000 that is still in the pot for Bournbrook and Selly Park. The application forms are so you can apply within 3 amounts: a smaller project which is up to £1,000, a project between 1,001 to 5,000, and then finally 5,000 to 10. It's a maximum of 10. The round 2 is now open and the forms are available. So if you go all the way back up to the beginning of the chat, I put them on. It says 15:55. I was trying to be clever and do them early. So they can be found from the birmingham.gov website, and if you just put Celebrating Communities Funding in the search engine, you will find them. There it will ask you for a broad outline of your project. It does need to meet the criteria for the Celebrating Communities. It doesn't have to be sporty. It can be anything that you feel brings the community together in Bournbrook and Selly Park, be it a one-off event. It might be something you want to do relating to the Commonwealth. It might be something about celebrating your neighbourhood. It might be a street party. So there are the criteria there. You do have to be a community organisation or a school. Schools can also apply. You can't be what we would call a profitable organisation. It has to be not for profit, and you do have to have a group bank account as opposed to it going to an individual. But it really is an opportunity to actually try something out leading up to the Commonwealth Games and celebrating your own neighbourhood as well as the actual games themselves. The other thing that we have done is we have brought in 2 very good both local and national organisations, one called Birmingham Community Matters and the other one being Locality, because we felt very strongly within Neighbourhood Development Support Unit that we wanted community organisations to succeed and not fail at putting in proposals. So the second link I've put in is to Birmingham Community Matters.org.uk/CC, and they have got loads and loads of really useful information online, plus a whole series of workshops that they're running explaining around the Celebrating Communities Fund. And also, once proposals have been chosen, they've actually been running workshops for those people who feel a bit nervous, a bit uncomfortable about pitching when they come to a ward forum meeting. So they've run those, or the ward plans are on their site, and they really have been extremely helpful in supporting organisations coming forward. There are some other criteria. It does need to meet, your proposal does need to meet the priorities that are in your ward plan and priorities, but that's is online. You will be able to see that as well if you haven't got it to hand. All activities need to be concluded by the end of the Commonwealth Games, so by the end of next August. And round 2, most importantly, the date for proposals being in is by the end of November. You can submit it any time before that, but that will be the closing date. They will then be assessed by the Neighbourhood Development Support Unit just to see that they meet the criteria, and then there will be another meeting like this, hopefully face to face by that time. That will be in the early months of next year, so around in January time, to actually do another decision making meeting like this. But I'm happy to answer any other question, Councillor, and I've probably missed loads of things, so my apologies.
Karen, can I just check if somebody wants to do something like do some planting or have a street party and they're not part of an existing organisation, can they approach one of our local groups to host their bid? I'm thinking Barry would be a good contact either for the Area Caretaker Society or the Community Development Trust, and if there were groups of students who wanted to do something, Hannah might be able to find a way to host a bid.
Absolutely. We want people to succeed, not fail. So we have had examples. In fact, Barry has been very helpful in some of our neighbourhood network scheme funding in Selly Oak as well, helping the students. And I know very kindly supported other proposals that have gone to your neighbouring ward. So I'm not up to me, but that would be perfectly fine. I mean, people will appreciate we do need to give some security both to the City Council and to an individual in terms of money going into individual accounts. That's just one of the protective criteria that the City Council has. But absolutely, and it might be that you want to discuss it at either a little bit at this meeting or at future ward forum meetings about something that people would like to do collectively. It is it's a nice way of introducing a small bit of money to groups to do something together and do it collectively and collaboratively. But yes, I mean there is a lot of flexibility in terms of the criteria, and if you're unsure, just ask, I think would be the motto for this particular fund.
Thanks, Karen. Anybody else got any questions? No, they are stunned by the opportunities before them, Karen.
Or bored. One of the two.
Seriously, it's 12,000 we've got left to spend.
Yes.
And I think it would be great if a proportion of that was in micro projects.
Yeah. But I can't recommend Birmingham Community Matters more highly than I have, because they've done round 1. They have a broad view of things that have come in and what seems to be working and what perhaps is a bit more difficult. So they are being extremely helpful to smaller community organisations. And I would just say, just give it a go.
Do you want to put their contact details in the chat?
It is in the chat already. It's already there. I can put them in again so they're timely. So once I stop chatting, I'll put them further down so people don't need to scan all the way up.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Okie doke. Thank you.
So that's everybody's homework. Find something that you want to do, or that your neighbours want to do, or somebody you know in the ward. It does have to be in Bournbrook and Selly Park one way or another. And Birmingham Community Matters really are good. They are used to working with organisations of all different sizes. Okay, let's turn to the rest of the agenda then, which is just updates on what's going on locally. And I've put waste update. So I think those of you who live in Bournbrook in particular know that we had a problem, a bigger problem than usual for student move out, move in. But it was cleared in 4 days, which is remarkable given that there was 200 tonnes of it. We're working on plans for next year. We know that COVID impacted it this year, and we're working on that. But the good news that some of you may already have encountered is the mobile household recycling centre. So that's a couple of lorries, one a waste lorry and the other a compartmentalised recycling truck. And so far we've had 3 visits from that, one on Woodside Road, one on Dale Road and one on Selly Park Road. So we will continue to look for a mixture of sites around the ward, you know, bit of a balancing act so that it gets to everybody, but also that people know where they're looking for. That's on the council's social media, our social media, and some of our community organisations are circulating the details. We get told about 10 days in advance. A particular issue, of course, is to make sure that it's residents, whether permanent or student, who take advantage of it, and that the landlords don't store up their waste for that, rather than get rid of it themselves. So, any questions or comments on that? Barry?
Yeah, the mobile recycling unit, can we book it in for next year for the student?
Yeah, we're working on that, as you'd expect. Not only from the point of view of booking it in, but also from the point of view of getting costings and seeing whether we can get external contributions to it, possibly from the university. Yeah. If anybody's got any ideas on sites, particularly in Bournbrook and along the Pershaw Road, that would be good. We are a bit short, which is why Woodside and Selly Park Road were so close. But it needs to be somewhere that you can park 2 big trucks without holding up the traffic.
Might be the Working Men's Club on Hubert Road.
Oh, that's a good one. Hadn't thought of that. I've asked Claire Bent whether the Tiverton Gym car park might be available, but that's a good one as well. Thanks, Barry.
Okay. Yeah.
Elizabeth?
This is not about the mobile waste thing. It's about the bins on the Bournbrook Road and all the other terraced roads. The students' bins being left out on the pavement. Are the university being asked, as they were last year, to tell the students that they need to put them within their driveways or whatever you call their entrances? Do you know?
Hannah, would you like to explain what the wardens are up to?
Yep, so hi, I'm Hannah. I work at the Guild of Students. So we have student group that work in the Bournbrook area. So the wardens have come back. They've literally started back yesterday, but they're hitting the roads in Bournbrook, kind of all those ones that you've mentioned, door knocking all the properties with a particular focus on waste management. Obviously, it's going to take us a while to get round the whole area. We started out at Healy Road today, but they will be on Bournbrook tomorrow. I think so. So they're speaking to students about a variety of things, but we are particularly focused on the waste management and making sure they know how to do their recycling properly. And we are obviously telling them about putting the bins away as well. We're also going to do a lot of social media with that. Obviously, that's a good way for us to reach students. So particularly for the next little while, it will be a weekly feature in terms of asking them to make sure they bring their bins back in. And we are hitting it quite hard in terms of not just how it looks, but also making sure that the pavements are accessible. You know, people with pushchairs or people with additional needs that need to get down the road. So yeah, obviously it's not a tricky problem to fix. We only have a limited amount of staff, but we are doing what we can.
Thank you, that's great.
And the other point, Hannah, that I know we've talked about, some of the landlords have not been very good about dealing with what's been left over the summer, whether it's general waste or in particular the contaminated recycling bins where builders have been sticking everything in there. So we're going to ask Lifford if they can clear the contaminated waste recycling bins as waste. And once we've got agreement on that, I'll let you know.
Amazing, thank you.
Okay, zipping through the updates then. I put road safety on because we talked about it last time, and we are hoping to do some work with the police and transportation about the Pershaw Road, but we were also hoping to get some community speed watch in place. As usual, just as we get settled with the police team, the sergeant moves on, so we'll have to start again with the new one. It's because we pose such a wide range of issues in the area that as soon as they can cope with Bournbrook and Selly Park, they're off to something else. But we've had a conversation with somebody from transportation today about how we might take forward the Pershaw Road, and as soon as we've had a chance to talk to the police, then we'll come back to you on that. Oh, that was good timing. Hi, Sarah. That was remarkably good timing because I was just talking about the change of sergeant and what we might do about community speed watch.
Evening, Karen, how are you?
I'm fine. Anything that you want to say particularly on community speed watch?
Nothing as of yet, just to let you know Sergeant Sankey's signing in as well.
Welcome, Sergeant Sankey. We haven't met yet. I'm Karen. I'm chairing this, and you and Sarah have turned up just at the right time because we were talking about community speed watch. Elizabeth, are you wanting to come in on this item, or is that a legacy hand? It was a legacy hand.
It was a legacy hand.
Thanks. Okay, Sarah, I can see you, but I'm not sure whether Sergeant Sankey is able to join us.
I'm here. I'm just hiding in the background. Hello.
Okay. So we were just talking about community speed watch, and it's something that's in my email inbox and in Bridget's quite regularly, that people worry about speeding. We're talking about the Pershaw Road with transportation as well. Oh, we've got an anonymous wanting to come in. But on roads like Umberslade, like Warwoods Lane, like Elmdon Road, we also have issues, and we've done community speed watch in the past. So if that's a possibility, I'm sure they'd be willing volunteers to join in.
Yeah, definitely. Any community assistance in things like Speedwatch is gratefully received. We should have all the equipment that we need or can get hold of it, and the more that we do, the better for me.
Great. We'll wait to hear from you then. Is there anything else you'd like to say to introduce yourself, or do you just want to listen tonight?
I'm happy to introduce myself. I'm the new neighbourhood sergeant for Selly Oak and Bournville at the moment. I've got a team of around about 16 people in total, putting the two teams together. I've been in the police for 17 years now and been across a number of different organisations within the police. So neighbourhood policing isn't new to me. It is something that I'm quite passionate about. So I look forward to working with my community and everyone that goes with that to try and achieve their goals.
That's brilliant. It looks like we've got a question for you from somebody who hasn't given their name.
Sorry, Councillor McCarthy, it's Kay. I have had to rejoin the meeting on my phone because my screen on my laptop has completely frozen. So I'm just letting you know that I'm still here, and hopefully the meeting's not been affected by my screen freezing, and you're all carrying on okay?
Yes, we are.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'm still here, but it's me that's come as anonymous, so I'll just carry on listening from here. But I can't. I can't help with the chat or anything because my screen's just absolutely died.
Okay, I'm sure Karen can help us if we've got any problems.
Okay, thank you.
Those of you who've been to physical meetings know that Kay is the brains behind the whole setup. So I'm glad she's been able to come back to us even as anonymous. Gareth, we're being asked for your email details. How do you like people to contact you?
By the Selly Oak inbox, which I will grab in 30 seconds when I find it.
Okay, if you want to type it into the chat, if you can.
Yeah, will do.
That would be lovely. Thank you. And then the next item, which we also rely on the police for support with, is the HMOs and supported accommodation update. We put this one on the agenda because now that we can, Bridget and I have been out talking to people, and we're finding people who don't know what they can do about HMOs and supported accommodation. As we've said in previous meetings, the first point is to check what the council does know about a particular location, either through Bridget or myself, or the PRS at birmingham.gov.uk email inbox, just to check out whether it's something that's already known. Antisocial behaviour can go through that route or direct to the police, and I believe that the person in the council who deals with it is a former police officer, so we've got good links there and some understanding of process on both sides. There's also continuing work. I'm assuming everybody on the call, for the names that I recognise, understand the difference, because we've done it over several meetings. But on the supported accommodation side, there is a lot of work going on, and there's what the council calls scrutiny, which is the committee that looks at how things are working in a particular area, and that's happening on Friday. I think Barry's probably on the invite list. I'm not, because they want to keep the numbers down, and they know that I will chip in writing if necessary, as Bridget will. So there is work going on, but there is no substitute. Don't feel that we must know about a site, we'd rather be told and come back to you and say, yes, all the relevant agencies know, and this is what we can share with you, than not know about it. And if you can make sure, if you're from an organisation, that the rest of your organisation know that as well, that would help. Any questions or comments on that one? Barry?
Sorry, I need to unmute. Yeah, just on scrutiny, it is going to be on YouTube. So if anybody wants to watch, there is a YouTube link that Scrutiny have got up and running for Friday. So you don't have to go and attend it in person. It is available online.
And again, the easiest way to find it is to go to YouTube and search for Birmingham City Council meetings. Anyone else on that? If you've got specific queries about specific properties, then do let us know. And while we're on HMOs, Hannah, do you want to just briefly talk about the ASB process?
Sure, yeah. So the Guild and the University of Birmingham have a joint antisocial behaviour procedure, which we would use to deal with any antisocial behaviour you get from student properties. So it's a three-step procedure. At level 1, the offending property will get a visit from the community warden team. So the team that I manage, we will go out and speak to the residents about just their kind of responsibilities in terms of being a good neighbour. We'll make sure that they're aware of all of the legislation around kind of noise nuisances and those sorts of things, and just give them some kind of advice on being better neighbours than they are. We'll also warn them about the kind of the rest of the procedure, so that they know what's coming if we do receive multiple complaints about them. If the issue isn't resolved after a level 1 visit, then at level 2 the case is referred to our local police teams, so that another visit will take place between the community wardens and one of the PCSOs, so either from the Selly Oak team that are here with us or members of the University of Birmingham campus police team sometimes will go out as well. Again, similar warnings and kind of discussions around being a good neighbour and the legislation around antisocial behaviour. And at that point, the police team will open a non-crime ASB number for the property, which means that they can kind of log officially any future complaints that come out against that house. And then if we are still not getting any resolutions and we receive more complaints about the same property, at level 3, there are kind of a variety of different options that we can look at depending on what the issues are. So at that point, it can be raised to the university and can have academic consequences on the students, or the police team might decide to progress the matter further from their end and look at community protection warning. So we've got a few kind of things in our arsenal if we've got student houses that really aren't improving their behaviour. On the whole, we don't get so many level 2s, and we very, very rarely get to level 3. So I think on average 75 to 80% of our complaints are dealt with at level 1. So students do tend to respond well to that initial warning. If you experience antisocial behaviour, please get in touch with us at the community wardens. I'll put our email address in the chat as well. So you can just send something through to us there, and then we will pick it up and send the wardens up to visit the property that's causing problems.
Thanks, Hannah. That's really useful. And it does seem to have an effect, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
That's good. Okay, anything else on HMOs and supported accommodation? No? Can I just check with Kay? Kay, have you got anything for the next item on planning issues and applications?
I haven't, I'm afraid, and I can't get into anything because I'm on the phone.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll just say something about the Triangle site appeal, because I don't have to absent myself for that, and then I'll hand over to Bridget for anything that I can't be involved in. So the Triangle site development was turned down by planning committee, but the developer is appealing. That will be heard virtually, I think, still, unless somebody corrects me, next month. And I think it's in the name, I'll hand over to Barry in a second. I think it's in the name of the Community Development Trust that the joint objection is going forward. Barry, you want to just say a few words about that?
Yeah, just to let you know what the state of play on the planning inquiry is. The Triangle site is the old Sainsbury's buildings that are on the Triangle with Harborne Lane and Chapel Lane. And there was a development proposal to build a large complex with about 15 floors and 1,200 students to be housed there. Planning committee thankfully turned it down, but the developers have now appealed, and the appeal is being fought jointly by the city and the Selly Oak Community Development Trust as the Rule 6 applicant. So we'll be fighting it as the community under the Selly Oak Community Development Trust banner, and you know, supported by the city council, or vice versa, as the case may be. And the appeal will be in two phases. It starts on the 11th of October with a public meeting held by the inspector at the Pavilion complex in Grange Road. It's just by the University Gate at Grange Road, and there is a public room there where the inspector will be meeting the community. And that will be at 10 o'clock in the morning. And it will go on as long as the inspector can put up with the people coming to it. So it will be a great opportunity for local residents to put their case and demonstrate the strength of feeling in the area for that, whether it be for or against even. We shall obviously be publicising that in more detail as we get nearer the date. The rest of the inquiry will be held online, so it will be publicly accessible, but it will be a Teams online event, and we'll be presenting the case against the development over the entire length of the inquiry, which will be over 2 weeks basically. So we hope for your support in as many ways as you can demonstrate it. Please come along on the 11th if you possibly can to the Pavilion at Grange Road. I'll hand back to Karen now, if that's okay.
Thanks, Barry. Yeah, it's technically not in the ward, but clearly has a major impact on the whole area. So it's at the junction of the 3 wards, Bournbrook and Selly Park, Wheelie and Selly Oak, and Bournville and Cotteridge. So there will be interest right across. I'm glad you updated me, Barry. Last time I said it was going to be in person, I was told it was going to be virtual. So thank you for that. Okay, and if anybody wants any more information, then either contact Barry direct or come through us. I now need to absent myself and hand over to Bridget to see if there are any other planning issues that people are aware of that they want to ask about. Brid, over to you.
Hi there. Hopefully you can see me because my camera has been playing up. Right, lovely to virtually see you all. Karen, of course, chairs planning committee, so isn't allowed to take part in various discussions about planning things, but I can, so that's great. I'm going to pop a link in the chat where you can see all of the live planning applications for our ward at the moment. These are ones that don't yet have a decision on them, and there's 66 of them in total. The vast majority of them are household applications for extensions, conservatories and things, or conversions into HMOs. Sorry, shutting up my phone there from a phone call. So that's what the vast majority of them are, and you can view them all there. But there's a few that I just wanted to pull out for you as ones of particular interest that you might, as a community, be interested in. So the first one is, you may be aware, or you may well remember, the site down on the Pershore Road near the junction with Cartland Road. There used to be a Fitness First on there. There used to be a bowling alley there. I'm told many, many years prior to that there was a cinema on there. Lidl have put in an application to build a store on that site. It's their second attempt. They put one in a few years ago. And it's complicated, but long story short, they got turned down for permission because on appeal, because the store would be removing an amenity from the site, which was Fitness First and the bowling alley. Both of those have now been demolished by the owner, and the site has lain vacant for a really long time. So Lidl have now put in to build on there and to put in a store. You can see the application. I'll just pop a link in the chat for you for anybody who wants to have a look. Give me 1 second. There you go. But it'll be really good to hear views from the community on that and what they think of it. Previously, people were very anti Lidl building because that would have removed the bowling alley and the gym. Obviously they are now gone, so it's whether we want to support the store or lobby for the landowner to use that for something more community focused, like a new gym or a new bowling alley or something. Traditionally people have wanted the latter, so that's what we've supported as councillors, but if you want to make your views known, please do. So the Lidl one is there. There's another one I'd like to flag up to you. I'll just pull up the application for that. So the Alwynsbury Hotel, which is at the top of Serpentine Road in Selly Oak, to my knowledge has been disused for a little while. It's a big old house that's been used as a hotel for a very, very long time. There's an application to turn that from a hotel into 12 apartments with a 3-storey extension on the side as well. Wanted to flag that one up to the community because it's in a conservation zone and it is obviously quite a big development, going from a hotel to a apartment block, basically keeping the old building but adding stuff on the side. So using the magic of the chat, I will send you the link to that one, which is now in the chat, so you can have a look at that one if you want to. And the third one I wanted to flag up to you all is for the Bristol Pear, the pub by the station on the Bristol Road. They put in for planning permission to essentially put in a beer garden out the back. It's a little parcel of land that fronts onto the Hubert Croft development, so the maisonettes essentially just off Hubert Road, fronts directly onto those. I have personally put in an objection against this because I've been contacted by people that live in Hubert Croft, but also I'm very worried about the noise that they would be experiencing with a beer garden directly up against them, smoke coming from that garden, because there's a lot of families that live there who don't want to be smelling smoke from cigarettes and so on, and just the general litter and noise that you get associated with beer gardens. Quite often, to me, it's the wrong location for that. And there's a block of flats on the Healy Road side as well that would also abut the beer garden. So I have put in an objection to that to make you aware. I will pop that in the chat as well, so you can see that planning application. Again, please feel free to make views known on that. So those are the three sort of live applications that probably haven't been discussed at a ward forum before. They're all fairly recent. And they're ones I picked out because they affect more than one household, or more than just immediate neighbours. But as I say, there's 63 others in the system for our ward. We're a very, very popular ward for developments for all the reasons that we're very familiar with. So again, I'd open it to the floor if anybody wants to give me any thoughts on any of those, or any steer, or for or against. It would just be really good to hear feedback from people about any of those. If you want to write to me afterwards, I'm at bridget.jones@birmingham.gov.uk. I'll pop my email address in the chat as well. So raise your little yellow hand if you want me to bring you in and say anything on any of those, or pop some comments in the chat, or do drop me an email. So I'm here to represent your views on these things. Not seeing any hands, so I popped my email address into the chat. If you do want to send me anything or get in touch and you've had a look at those, or if there's any of the others that catch your eye, there's a few householder ones that individuals have contacted me about, which I have also objected to, but I won't take up hours of meeting going into really specific household applications. I'm not seeing any hands. Those that are from SPOA, I'm aware there's a number in here that are for your conservation area. So again, if there's any you want to, again, particularly flag that you want support on, do let me know on that. But no one is biting at the planning hook. So I will. Oh, Barry, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily a specific immediate planning issue, but we've had a report that the Selly Oak Nursery on Tiverton Road has been put up for auction. It may be, which is quite concerning, because they did put in a planning application for the caretaker's house adjacent to it, which seemed a bit odd, given that they'd been objecting to the development just adjacent to them, creating student accommodation just recently. So it may be something that we need to find out some more about, given that if the nursery is sold, it is quite a significant site, and with the land adjacent to it that they have, and the caretaker's house, it's unlikely that it will still be used as a nursery. Now, I haven't got the exact details of the auction house that's responsible for it, but it did come from a member of CP4SO, and they're in the property trade themselves, so it's a reliable source.
So that's a maintained nursery school.
Yeah. Can I come in, Bridge?
That would be possible. Sorry, Karen might have more. It sounds
Sorry, I went back to Simon and I asked him to clarify it, and it's the one on Frederick Road.
No, the one on Frederick Road, sorry.
The Selly Oak Tree Nursery, which has now closed down.
Okay.
I reacted exactly as you did. So that's my understanding, is that it's the one that you wouldn't know was there on Frederick Road unless you were using it.
Okay, I retract my
I reacted exactly like you did.
However, I mean, Tiverton have still applied for HMO permission for the caretaker's house, which presumably is an indication that they're having financial issues. But anyway, that's perhaps another conversation.
Yeah, just to reassure on the nursery school. So it's a maintained nursery school, and it's not possible to sell maintained education land, or for that matter academy land, without express permission from the Secretary of State. So that would be legally impossible, basically.
Well, okay. Thanks for the clarification, Karen. It's Frederick Road, which is another ward to take up. Okay.
I miss it. I really miss it.
Yeah, and it wasn't a good boundary commission decision.
It certainly wasn't. We've got more than enough to deal with on the new boundaries, but the old boundaries were a more coherent area to be dealing with. Okay, anybody got anything else on planning then? So we're on to any other local concerns that we haven't covered as we went along. Roxy.
I'm sorry, I'm just being a bit opportunist here, I'm afraid. It's nothing to do with Selly Park, except John found, is Hannah still there?
Yeah.
Please. Hannah is still there. John found a card in a card holder in Edgbaston Park Road today, and I've tried desperately to get through to anybody in the university. Nobody seems to want to communicate. So I thought, while Hannah was there, could I tell her that I've got a provisional driving licence and a University of Birmingham card here for one of their members, please? And I can't really do it on, usually you can do it on the little messages to an individual person, but you can't on this one, can you?
No, you can do it in Zoom, but not in Teams.
So I just thought I'd let Hannah know and ask her what I should do.
I'll have to have a think, because obviously I don't know exactly how to find students, but if I put our email address, the community one, if you could just email it to me, and I can work out who to pass that on to within the university who might have contact details for the student, because obviously that's not something I have, but somebody will.
That's great. So I just put for attention of Hannah at your email address.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
All right then. Thank you. That's
No
it.
problem.
Okay, we're coming up to 8 o'clock. So does anybody else have anything they want to raise? Bridget, have I missed anything that you wanted to cover?
I don't think so.
Okay. So last call for questions and comments. I'm not seeing any. Hopefully when we are due to meet again, we'll be able to do it in person. I won't say we won't have any technical problems with that, but definitely fewer if we've got to turn up somewhere. Right, who have I got? John.
Is there any news on resident parking schemes in Selly Park?
No, nothing at the moment. We're having to see through those that are going forward at the moment, and then we'll come back to what can be done and what funding is available for Selly Park. Anyone else? No, we have hit 8 o'clock then. So thank you all very much for virtually attending, and we'll let you know the date of the next meeting and whether it is virtual or in real life. Thank you very much. I'll close the meeting there.
Thanks, Councillor McCarthy.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.